Welcome to Bittensor Weekly, your source for truth for everything happening in the Bittensor ecosystem. I'm your host, and this is episode 9, May 3rd, 2026. This week, an AI agent built and now operates a Bittensor subnet entirely on its own. And that subnet just hit number 3 in emissions. While most major staking networks lost capital this week, Bittensor was the only one to grow. And the Q1 numbers came in with real revenue. Let's get into it. The biggest story this week is not who's investing in Bittensor, it's what Bittensor is now capable of. A Bittensor subnet was built, registered, and is now operated end-to-end by an autonomous AI agent. No human team, no paid devs, just an agent with a wallet and a goal. Bittensor co-founder Jacob Steves, known as Const, put an open weights model on a Mac Studio, pointed it at the Bittensor inference subnet for its thinking, gave it a Rust command line tool to interact with the chain, set a goal in a text file, and walked away. 2 days later, Subnet 97 was live on the Finny mainnet, accepting miners. As of this week, that subnet is sitting at number 3 in emissions payout across the entire Bittensor network, according to Tau Stats. We will go deep on Distil, that subnet, in the Spotlight segment, but the headline matters on its own. This is the first business operated end-to-end by an autonomous AI agent on a decentralized network, live and shipping. The second story landed today, Thursday, and it is a behavioral signal you do not want to miss. According to Token Post's weekly staking market snapshot, Bittensor was the only major network to grow its staked value this week. Tau staked value rose 2.68% to $1.84 billion. Ethereum and Solana both declined. Most major networks declined. Tau also posted a 5.3% increase in estimated annual rewards. What that means in plain language, while stakers across most major networks are pulling capital out, Bittensor stakers are adding to positions and locking them up at better yields. That is the people closest to the network voting with their money. And because staked Tau cannot be sold without unbonding delays, the float keeps shrinking. Around 68% of total Tau supply is now locked in staking. The supply side keeps tightening. Third story is the Q1 report card. Bittensor reportedly generated approximately $43 million in real AI usage revenue during the first quarter, according to on-chain analysis tracked by analyst Dami Defi. Most of that revenue traces to Chutes on Subnet 64 and Targon on Subnet 4. This is not promised future revenue, it is paid usage. The figure has been picked up across multiple outlets, including Blockonomy and Intellectia. We treat it as on-chain analyst attribution, not audited financials, but the directional signal is clear. Real demand is showing up. The subnet ecosystem now spans 128 active subnets, which is a hard cap for now. Tau closed Q1 near $251, ending the quarter up roughly 21.5%. Fourth story is governance. Bit-0011, the conviction upgrade, has a phased rollout plan. Const reiterated this in recent community discussion. Phase 1 is launching conviction on-chain as an optional primitive, meaning subnet teams can opt in. Phase 2 specifically targets the deprecated subnets 3, 39, and 81, which were left behind after the Covenant exit. The goal is to give the community tools to reclaim ownership of those slots. The proposal remains a draft, but the direction is clear and the timeline is shortening.
On market levels, Tau is trading near $255 in a range of $248 to $258 this week. 235 is the broader support. 264 remains the resistance to break. Fear and greed sits at 29, which is fear, but no longer extreme fear. The first historic halving happened on December 14, 2025, cutting daily emissions from 7,200 Tau to 3,600. That halving has now been in effect for over 4 months and continues to compress new supply. On institutional infrastructure, Grayscale's GTAO ETF filing is still pending an SEC decision expected by August. Bitwise has a parallel filing. The path to a spot Tau ETF is active, though approval is not guaranteed. No major subnet teams have followed Covenant out. The ecosystem is steady. One quick mover note. Verathos on Subnet 96 is up over 60% in the last 24 hours. Verathos is a verified compute network where any tensor operation, inference, or training can be cryptographically proven. Worth keeping on the radar. This week's Subnet Spotlight is unlike any we've covered before. It's Distil on Subnet 97, and the founder of the subnet is not a person. It's an AI agent named Arbos. Here's what happened. Const set up Arbos on a Mac Studio, running an open weights model. For inference, Arbos calls Chutes, which is Subnet 64 on Bittensor. So the agent is using Bittensor to think. To interact with the chain, Arbos uses a custom Rust command line tool called ag-cli, which returns structured data the agent can parse, decide on, and act on. The loop is read chain state, decide next action, execute, repeat. Const wrote a goal in a text file, build a subnet. 2 days later, Distil was registered on the Finny mainnet, live, and onboarding miners. Arbos still writes the code, answers Discord questions, and operates the subnet today. According to Tau Media, the OpenTensor Foundation highlighted this on a March community call, calling it, quote, an autonomous agent running on decentralized AI using a purpose-built chain CLI to build and operate a decentralized AI inference subnet. What Distil actually does is just as compelling as how it was built. It runs a competitive model distillation market. Miners take a 35 billion parameter teacher model called Qwen 3.5 and try to compress it down to 5.25 billion parameters or fewer while preserving the teacher's reasoning behavior. Each epoch, 120 prompts get drawn from a 400 billion token corpus called Climb Mix. The teacher generates token-by-token output. Miners' compressed models do the same. The metric is KL divergence, which measures how closely the student's probability distribution over tokens matches the teacher's. 0 means identical, above 2 means disqualified. The current best students achieve about 0.24, which matches Qwen's own 4.66 billion parameter reference model. Lowest KL wins 100% of that epoch's emissions. Everyone else earns 0. Winner takes all. No participation trophies. The current best model is called the King. You can query it directly at chat.arbos.life. The endpoint changes every time someone beats the current king, so the public model improves continuously in real time, driven by competitive pressure. As of this week, Distil sits at number 3 in emissions payout across the entire Bittensor network.
Why this matters. The frontier AI conversation is about who builds the smartest model. The Bittensor conversation is about whether decentralized networks can actually produce useful AI output. Distil collapses both questions into one demonstrable result. Competitive distillation of frontier models is a problem the centralized AI industry has poured significant capital into. Distil is solving it in public with open submissions, a live leaderboard, and a continuously improving free output. And the subnet itself is run by an AI agent that the founder gave a wallet to and walked away from. If you want to understand where Bittensor is heading, Qwen the King. That single interaction is the entire thesis in one prompt. 3 things to watch this coming week. First, Distil's emissions trajectory. Subnet 97 climbed from outside the top 10 to number 3 in emissions in roughly a month. Watch whether that continues, plateaus, or reverses. If an autonomous AI agent can run a top 3 subnet, the proof point reshapes the entire builder onboarding story for Bittensor. Second, the 264 resistance break. 68% of supply is locked in staking, and the December halving has been compressing daily emissions for 4 months. Tau has been grinding against 264 for 2 weeks. If price breaks that level with conviction, the next leg targets 300. If it rejects again, expect another consolidation in the 235 to 265 range. Third, the conviction implementation timeline. Phase 1 is the optional on-chain primitive. Phase 2 targets the deprecated subnets. The first time someone successfully challenges and wins ownership of a deprecated subnet under conviction rules, that becomes a structural before and after moment for how Bittensor handles governance. The broader picture, the thesis used to be, can a decentralized network actually produce useful AI? This week's answer is at chat.arbos.life. The argument has shifted from is this real to what does it mean now that it is? That's it for this week. If you found this useful, subscribe and hit the bell. Sign up for the companion newsletter at bittensorweekly.substack.com for deeper data tables and source links. I will see you